This is my John Deere compact track loader. I bought it about 6 months ago. Normally these are painted yellow, but since this one is a retired Sunbelt rental machine, it was painted in their special green color right from the John Deere factory. At first I wasn't going to let the green color bother me, but the longer I look at it and the more I see it on camera, the more I wish it looked like my backhoe and my 318 named Bruno. This past weekend it got really muddy, and so I spent about 6 hours getting it cleaned up. And now that I have a free weekend, I thought I would challenge myself. I'm going to try to spend the next 24 hours and see if I can get this changed over from green to yellow. Not consecutive hours, mind you, but cumulative hours. Like a couple big days on the weekend and then a couple weeknights for a total of 24 hours. First things first, I'm going to get some supplies and then get started.
Dig Drive DIY!
All right, I got about 2 partial cans, 2 full cans, and 1 half gallon of paint left over from when I painted Bruno. It doesn't feel like quite enough since it's a Saturday and I won't be able to get anything tomorrow. I'm gonna run to the John Deere store first. We'll figure out what the next logical step is on that. Let's see what kind of paint they got here in stock. All right, just $200 worth of paint. So somebody asked me in a previous video where I got the clean funnel. John Deere is where I got the clean funnel, and they still have them. All right. Paint. Got a quart of the gray just in case. A little more yellow. Filter funnels, sanding pads. Thought I'd try some of these sanding sponges. All in, I got about 250 bucks of paint and materials right now, and I'm an hour down. It took me an hour to go run and do all that stuff. So I think the next step is sanding, my least favorite step. All right. Should be easy to paint most of the green, you know. It's easily accessible. These panels come off. I'm just gonna do and reach what I can. But I'm wondering about this wind. I'm in the shade and it's nice, but it's really windy. I think I'm changing my mind. I might put it inside. You know what? I think it'd be smarter if I worked in here. All right, I think I'm back to going outside. I can't get the arms up. All right, I'm back to where I started because I couldn't get the arms lifted up enough and then pin them for safety. So I'm just gonna work on it outside. I got a table set up over here for some tools and paint and supplies. And my plan is now just to focus on the yellow, or actually whatever's green, painting it yellow. My goal is to take off as many panels as I can to remove them from the machine and minimize my masking effort as best I can. And then just scuff up the paint, try to remove any loose flakiness or rusty areas, get it sanded up with the sanding blocks, and then start painting. I've got a half gallon of liquid paint left, and that's a good way to get coverage. I hate messing around with the paint gun. I absolutely hate the air hose and the pouring and the funnels and the filter and the gun and the plugging and the settings, and I hate it. I like spray cans. I know you get less paint on there, but the John Deere cans are pretty good. I might do a good portion of this with just spray cans, or at least get in the hard to reach areas with spray cans. Maybe I'll break out the spray gun and shoot the big areas. It'd be a lot better to shoot the big areas with the spray gun, I know, but it is such a pain and there's always a problem, but we'll see how things go. My biggest problem is getting started, so that's what I'm gonna do now. Just start taking it apart and see what I can get broke down on this thing. So if you'll notice, the inside of this thing is green, and I'm not gonna get carried away and paint the inside. Hard to hide the fact that this was, you know, a Sunbelt rental machine at one time. But I'm gonna do the best I can and just paint whatever's easily exposed. Okay, so I'm down to 21 hours left. I spent the last hour or so, hour and a half, taking apart everything on the machine that would easily unbolt and make it easier for masking. So if you can remove something and paint underneath it and then put it back on, that'll save a lot of time in the long run. Also, a lot of those components, I'm gonna break them down even farther and paint them individually, and that'll also make it look like a better paint job. The other thing I'm gonna do is take any stickers off that I can so that I don't paint over them. And that brings me to here. You know, I got the cab tilted up That's supported by a little jack stand. I'm gonna probably tape off most of the inside so that I don't get a bunch of overspray in here, but I will paint the inside of this line so that you'll only see the green paint when you open up the cab. Right now I'm just gonna start on the front. I'm gonna start here and then sand and clean and work my way around and see what I can get done in a short amount of time. All right, for the last couple hours, I've been hard at it, just sanding and grinding and wiping and cleaning and using the air hose to blow out the dirt and debris. It's always a lot more work than you think it's gonna be in your mind. So I got 17 hours remaining, 7 hours in basically. I don't feel like I've made much progress, but we'll stay at it and see how close we can get to 24. Right now I'm gonna go eat supper. Maybe I'll come back and work afterwards. It's a beautiful day, so I got that going for me. It's time to eat. All right, it's time for a little update. So last night when I went in for supper, the girls wanted to watch a movie. So I got wrapped up into that. The only thing I did last night was carry all of the panels over into the barn, and that way I can work on those in the dark or after hours. I'll have a place to get those prepped and done. So there's that. Then this morning we got distracted. Okay, we took a little break from painting this morning to do a little golfing. All right, there you go, nice shot. There you go. Nice. Finally came back and I've been back at it for 3 more hours so far today. So we are at 14 hours remaining. Basically, I've been sanding and cleaning and wiping and sanding and cleaning for 9 hours on this thing. The prep is the worst part. And that 9 hours has given me a lot of time to think about things. And basically, I'm wondering if I'm going overboard or not doing it enough. And I've decided that I'm right in the middle. So we're not doing a full off, like remove every piece and part, paint anything that's green yellow. We're not doing that. But at the same time, I'm not doing it halfway either, because there's a method that's halfway and it's less than this. So I'm trying to land somewhere in the middle. I've also thought about the use of a proper paint gun and really good paint versus spray cans. I'm happy with the conclusion of just using the spray cans. John Deere paint is Valspar paint, and it's actually pretty decent stuff, and I've had really good luck with it. So we're gonna see how it turns out. Let me know in the comments what you think. Am I doing the right amount, or should I have done more or less? We'll see. But now I've moved on to masking. I've actually went through and I've primered some areas that were down to bare metal, where I'd either used the grinder or I'd sanded clear through the metal, or that had rust on them. So went through and got the primer on those. I even started with some of the masking so that I could prime a few places. But now I'm gonna go through, and this is gonna take me another hour or two just to mask. All right, we are currently 12 hours into the project. I got 12 hours left. I know there's easier ways to do this masking. There's all kinds of products and drapes and drop cloths and whatnot, but we're using old newspapers and a couple rolls of tape, and the girls and I are just masking her off. So we've still got a few minutes to go on this. Actually, we probably got a half hour of masking to do. I'm gonna go in and eat supper, and hopefully the wind will lay down a little bit, and I'm gonna slob the paint on this. I'm not gonna paint the very top and the back. I think what I'm gonna do is paint what I can with the arms up, and then I'll put it inside the building, put the arms down, and paint the top above the cab. But this will get us the good majority of it done. And then, like I said, I'll lower the arms and work up top. That's the plan anyway. It's coming together. It's gonna be what it is, you know? The famous phrase that I hate, it is what it is, because that doesn't mean anything. It'll be fun to take the masking tape off, I do know that. And before some of you say it, we did use some aluminum foil. Oh yeah. I gotta mask this off too. It is finally time to start painting. I am running out of daylight quick. So now I got 13 hours in preparation before I sprayed any paint. 13 hours of prep. This is a leftover from when our girls were in the NICU right after they were born. I have 4 cans that are either old or partially full, and I'm gonna see if I can use those up. Respirator. The wind has calmed down at least. This one right here is the oldest. Daylight is winding down. And my main goal was just to get the stuff painted that I wanted to do while the arms were lifted up. I knew I was gonna have to paint it in stages. That's no question. I'm down to 3 cans of paint. Two more left. All right, well, it's my last can of paint, and I'm feeling pretty good about it actually. It looks really good in the dark. The areas that I wanted to concentrate with the boom up, I've hit pretty good. This is my 5th full can. I did the 3 partials. I should have got more paint when I had a chance. But actually I'm really tired and it's hard to keep spraying, so I'll finish this one out and we'll call it good for tonight. Back again, it is a new day. I had to work all day today, but during lunch, I was lucky and I ran over and got a few more cans of paint. So we're ready to do some more work this evening. You know what? I had a look at it today in the sunlight and it actually doesn't look too bad. There was just a few light spots. I can just touch those up here and there. Got to get underneath the tracks, but all in all, I think the paint job looks pretty good on it. You know, this whole time I'm thinking about, should I spray it with a gun? Are the paint cans okay? I probably could have got a little bit thicker paint with a paint gun. It still would have been difficult to get in and out. I think I would have produced more runs with a paint gun because of the obstacles. Somebody more experienced probably could have done a better job, but it doesn't look too bad. Once you start putting all of the stuff back on it, it'll look good. But now I want to turn my attention while that's curing and setting up, and I got to wait for the girls to take the paper and the tape off. I'm going to turn my attention to all these panels that we pulled off, and I'll try to get those prepped up and ready to go. That way, when I start disassembling, I can put it all back together. We got 10 hours left. Actually, I'm going to try this little sander that Kara has first, because the sanding by hand looks a little daunting. So let's try this little doober dauber. So I definitely wish I had remembered that Kara had this sander sooner. It's just this little Black & Decker triangle shaped sander. No sponsor, by the way. It's just, she had it. She said, hey, remember I got that little sander? I said, no, I do not. This is great. This is gonna save me a lot of time. And we're running short on time. Boy, another 3 hours of prep. You know, when I think about how long it's going to take to paint something, I think I envision the actual painting of the item and I don't factor all the prep work. It's kind of like going on vacation. You're thinking about vacation, but not thinking about all the packing. And that's probably because Kara does all the packing and I just get to go on vacation. But she's not helping me with the prep work on this, so that's maybe why I miscalculated. But anyway, we are down to 7 hours remaining. All I got to do tonight is primer. This is actually yellow colored primer. I want to get a coat of primer on all this. We'll call it a night. You know, I think the theme of this video should be underestimating, because I've underestimated a lot, namely how much time it's going to take me, and number 2, how much paint I'm going to use. And number 3, I underestimated how much surface area there is here in these panels, because I just blew through 2 cans of primer like it was nothing. That's all I have. That's all the John Deere store had for now. I'm waiting on paint to show up, so this will push us into another day. I got 4 hours in it tonight, meaning I only got 6 hours left. It's not looking good, is it? But nevertheless, we'll see how long it does take regardless. All right, I'm ready for bed. It's after 11 o'clock. Time to turn in. Well, it is another new day. I've got more cans of paint and I've already been busy at it. So that brings us to a total of 5 hours remaining. And I have a feeling that this video is going to morph into what I thought it was going to take me versus what it really took me. But I've already been at it. I put my first coat of paint on the yellow parts that are inside the building here. I painted the backside first and did 2 coats. I'll wait for that to dry overnight. I'll flip them over and I'll do my final painting on the outside surface of all those components. Then I started gathering up my gray parts. I got a handful of parts that I'm going to repaint gray. Well, for example, the front of the foot well. There's this metal panel in the front. I had to take the screws off of it all the way around, and I've got that removed. I need to prep that and get it ready for paint. I've also got a couple little pieces like a step and whatnot that need to paint. I've also got the rear fan cover. So the fan cover on the back is also dented in. It's got a slight dent. I'm gonna see if I can get that pushed out, make it look a little bit better, a little straighter, and then I'll proceed with getting these prepped and maybe shoot those tonight. I'm actually waiting on the girls to get home from school so that we can tear the masking tape and all the paper off the skid loader over there, because the best part about painting is removing the mask. I'm gonna stay busy until they get here though. Well, looks like they made it home already, so we gotta start thinking about supper, and I'll come back and mess with this later. We have come to one of our favorite portions of the painting process, that is removing the masking tape and paper. Two assistants, can you assist me with the process?
Yeah.
Now I've waited a full solid day for you to be able to help. There we go. Isn't that nice? All that mud needs to come out. Starting to look pretty good. It's gonna look better when I add the panels back on. Well, you girls better go get ready for bed, and I'll keep working a little while longer.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Night.
Night, night.
Moving on now. I want to see if I can get this adjusted out. I've seen this work. Take a deep breath in. Didn't work. Deep breath. So in case anyone is wondering, why am I spending so much time outside instead of working in my shop? Well, this is the kind of thing that creates a lot of dust and a lot of mess. So I am taking advantage of the beautiful weather we've had this week. I mean, it is perfect. No humidity, and I'm just working outside, keeping all the dust and mess out here. Overspray is at a minimum here where I got it, and it's just been nice. A lot less cleanup to do. Plus I like to keep my pickup in there and stuff that I don't want to get dusty. When you told me when I built that shop it was going to be our band rehearsal studio, I'd have said, who the heck are you talking about? But that's kind of what it's came to be. And we have band practice tomorrow, so it's helpful to not create a big huge mess in there if I can help it. I really want to have this done by next weekend. I don't want to spend next weekend on this. I'll use up my weeknights this week and call it good. It's kind of turning into this do one thing a day type of strategy like I did on Bruno, which works. You get done, but you start to get a little burnout too. I'm feeling the burnout a little bit just because my hand is so sore from the spray cans. You know, now I'm starting to regret the spray cans, but at the same time, I do not miss cleaning up that spray gun. Down to 2 hours left. I'm not gonna make it, am I? I got everything prepped for the gray that I need to do, so it's after midnight and I'm out of gas. There's always tomorrow. Tomorrow is already today. So back again after work, and I stayed up late last night trying to get all these parts prepped and ready to go. Well, I've already painted another coat of yellow on the yellow parts that are in the barn there. Got that all done. Used up 2 more cans. I think I'm done with the yellow on there. Still got a little touching up to do on the skid loader. But now I'm getting ready to do my first shot of gray. And I'm not going to flip anything. I'm not going to paint the back sides of these. They're obviously already gray. All the back sides are concealed and hidden. There's already paint on them. So I'm just going to shoot the fronts. 1 hour remaining, by the way. At least I'm ready to paint something different other than yellow. Well, the gray was much easier to put on than the yellow. It covers really well when you're doing gray on top of gray instead of yellow on top of green. But the bad news is I've used up my 24 hours. So I guess we're done. I'll see you in the next video. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to keep going and figure out how long it is going to take me. But right now I'm getting pointed at. Is it time for supper? Yeah. All right, now it's time for supper. and I'll get back to this when I can get back to it. Which is tonight. I've got the skid loader moved into the barn here, into my makeshift paint booth, moved all the parts in behind the curtain, and I'm going to see if I can get these lift arms painted. We're already over our 24 hours. I really think just by painting the front of these and removing this, you can see Sunbelt on here still, and maybe take off the stickers and sand these scratches, this I think will really kick up the looks. Another 3 hours invested so far. I had to start out by peeling those decals off, and when you take those off, you gotta follow up and do the adhesive, that's the residual adhesive that's left behind too, because when you try to sand that stuff, if it's still there, it'll just plug up your sandpaper and make a huge mess. So I got the decals off, then I used the grinder and got any of the real rough edges and a lot of the big gouges in the metal. Took those all down, rounded off the edges again, then hit it with a couple different grades of sandpaper. I started out with 80 and tried to get through the scratches. Then I hit it with 120 and then finally 220. And I think I'm pretty much ready for paint. I wiped it all down with a surface cleaner. I took the air hose, blew it all off. I'm gonna mask this up and then hit it with some gray. So this thing kind of looks silly, but it does do a great job of keeping the paint out of the hair on your arms, because without it, you just feel like a sticky mess. But you wear this and actually you can feel pretty good when you're done. It looks good and wet. The spray can splattered in one spot. Right down here, there's some, right there they are. 5 more hours just tonight since 9 p.m. It's 2 a.m. I'm gassed out, ready to call it a night. We'll see where we get. I really got a deadline of this weekend because Saturday it's supposed to be raining. We got a gig if it's not rained out, and I'm hoping to make this video go on Sunday, so got to be done. We'll see what tomorrow brings. Well, it is another new day. The good news is the humidity is back. After a much needed rain this morning, we're back to normal. Today was an at-home day for me, and I'm embarrassed to say that I spent a good bit of the day, probably at least 4 hours today. 3 hours of it prepping and, once again, cleaning, sanding, scuffing, masking. The masking took forever. I always underestimate the masking. This gives me some good perspective into understanding how I'm so wrong on my time estimation on this stuff. So I got the back part of the cab all painted that I needed to do on that. I think I'm almost done with all the paint. There's a few places on the top of the cab that I need to touch up. For the most part, done with paint. I'm ready to take the mask off and start putting it back together. But I think it's time for a trip to the mailbox. Hey, hey, hey. This might be what I was waiting on. Huh? It's the grand finale. So that's my project for tomorrow, and I hope that's all I have to do. So tonight, I'm going to start putting some of it back together, and well, if we're lucky, we'll see what it looks like in the morning. Well, here we are, exactly 1 week from the day I started all this. I started my morning with a trip to the local John Deere store. Now, hopefully today is the day. I worked another 2 hours last night, so I think I've worked cumulatively like 30 hours so far. I don't know if I'm not right, I'll have it on the screen down below, but I'm ready to wrap this up. But now is the best part. So I've got just a few little touch-ups that I found that need to be hit with yellow paint, especially back here in the back where when I had the cab up, I couldn't get them. And then I'm gonna do one little accent, one little thing to make this look different. This is probably, I don't know if it's worth it, but I don't know, it's worth a shot. I'm gonna do it anyway, just to make it stand out, be a little bit different. I'll explain. So the new John Deere skid loaders, the P series, as in Paul, they have little yellow accents up there on the lights, and I think it looks so cool. This to me is going to be the only G that has that little yellow accent up there, so you'll be able to see it and recognize it easily, maybe in a thumbnail that I do, or maybe I'll come to regret it. I don't know, but I thought it looked cool, so I'd try it. I can put it back to gray easy enough. But so now that the painting is done for now, I'm going to get started with taking off the masking and all the drop cloths and paper, and then hopefully we'll be able to start reassembly and put the decals on it before we're done here. I only have 2 bolts left over. I kind of spared you all the details of reassembling everything because it's kind of boring, but let's see, we're up to at least 36 hours if I'm keeping track in my head. But let's go see if we can put some decals on. I guess you're going to see it. Now is when I'd like you to set your resolution on your screen. If you hit that little wrench in the bottom corner of your screen, set that to 360p, and then the skid loader will look great at low resolution. This is why I don't film in 4K. We got a band gig tonight, so I'm trying to get this wrapped up before we head off to that. We're close. I'm always out of time. This is like a low adhesive masking tape. It's made kind of for the sign work. I used to do this kind of stuff back custom graphics when I was just out of high school, and I had my winters off from excavating, and I'd go make graphics, do vinyl graphics. So this is something that isn't all that intimidating to me. To get it centered because you're measuring off of a radius right here, so that's a little bit tricky. 1 3/4 or 1 7/8. Oh, that's clear up there. Right above that little notch right there. We're gonna run with it. I looked at about 10 pictures and they all look a little bit different. They must have changed it through the years is my guess. You can't make it centered because the width of this post is different. And then you should take the backing paper off. Oh man. Oh boy, it came loose. All right, well. Oh. If I hadn't wet it down, I wouldn't be able to do that. Pretty good. Squeegee time. Start in the center, work your way down and out to the edges. I put just a little bit of soap, a couple drops of soap in that water too. The trick is to start at the top and not let the bottom stick until you get through it. So I like to go down first. You're kind of pulling on that hinge tape up there. Okay. Then work my way from the center and out both corners. You're basically trying to stretch that decal out to its corners. Oh yeah, it's stuck really well. Oh boy, there's something really satisfying about that, isn't there? I put that one on so the bottom of this lined up with the bottom of that Deere. Can you see that right there? Hopefully I got that on camera. Okay. Well, I would say I'm going to call that done. I want to back it out of here and take a look at it in the daylight. Well, this is my John Deere 331G compact track loader, and it is no longer a weird color of green. I think it turned out pretty good. It's not perfect. There's a lot of flaws, and if you look close, you're going to find them. But I think for what it is, with about 40 hours invested, I think it was around 40. I got to the point where I stopped keeping track, but nearly 40 hours of work in exactly 1 week's time. So I don't know. Tell me what you think. Did I go overboard? Did I not do enough? There's this phrase or this idea that perfection prevents progress. And that happens to me a lot. And I think that's why, well, that's why I procrastinate too, but you let the idea of perfection get in the way of even moving forward on something. So it's not perfect, but first time it gets dirty, it's not going to matter. All right, I want to thank you so much for clicking on this video. Thanks so much for staying till the end. This was a long project, a long video, but I appreciate you being here. If I'm lucky, I'll see you in the next one. All right, I got to get to this band gig.